What if, in just 7 days, no one could recognize you, not because you disappeared, but because you finally became the version of yourself that you were always meant to be? Not a slightly improved copy, not a minor upgrade, but a complete internal shift so profound that even your own reflection would hesitate before calling you by your old name. Most people live on autopilot. They don't change because change feels like chaos. So they scroll, they wish, they wait. They distract themselves with productivity hacks and motivational noise, hoping that someday the right version of them will just appear. But that day never comes, because transformation doesn't happen gradually. It happens in one bold decision, followed by relentless execution. And it doesn't take years, it takes ownership. This video is not motivation. This is not inspiration. This is a system, a raw, disciplined 7-day reconstruction built on ancient Stoic principles designed to break patterns, crush excuses, and forge the kind of self-mastery you've only glimpsed in moments of clarity. In the next 7 days, you will reclaim your time, rebuild your body, rewire your mind, and rewrite your identity. No fluff, no shortcuts, no half measures. Only real, calculated actions that separate who you've been from who you must become. You don't need permission. You don't need more information. You need a line in the sand. This is it. 7 days, 7 Stoic principles, 1 irreversible outcome. You will become unrecognizable. 1. Reclaim your time. Time is not stolen from you. You give it away minute by minute, hour by hour, to things that don't matter, to people who don't remember, to habits that don't serve. You say you're busy, but the truth is, you're distracted. You confuse motion with progress, consumption with clarity, busyness with purpose, and slowly, without realizing it, you become a slave not to a master, but to 1,000 tiny interruptions that fracture your focus and drain your soul. If you're honest, your time isn't yours. It belongs to the algorithm, to endless notifications, to people's expectations, to a calendar filled with tasks that pull you in every direction but your own. You don't own your day. You react to it. You're not living. You're responding. And here's the brutal truth. A man who cannot control his time will never control his life. That's not poetic. That's mathematical. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, wrote in De Brevitate Vitae, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Centuries later, nothing has changed, except now we carry our distractions in our pockets. But the principle remains. Time, once lost, cannot be earned back. It doesn't pause for healing, for regret, or for second chances. The clock is indifferent to your excuses. And so the man who learns to master time must first master himself. So here's where we begin. Not with motivation, not with willpower, but with architecture. You need to redesign the foundation of your day. The next 24 hours must not be a repetition of yesterday. They must become a template for a different kind of existence, one marked by intention, presence, and sovereignty. Reclaiming your time is not about doing more. It's about doing less of what doesn't matter, so you can go deeper into what truly does. Start by auditing your day. Track every hour, ruthlessly. Where is your time going? Who is stealing it? What habits are leaking energy from your system? Identify the 30% of your day that's pure noises scrolling, clicking, reacting, multitasking, people-pleasing, and eliminate it with surgical precision. Time isn't just about what you do, it's about what you stop doing. Next, reclaim your mornings. Before the world wakes up, before the noise begins, rise early, at dawn. Not because it's trendy, Because it's sacred. The hours between 5 and 8 a.m. are a psychological fortress, quiet, clear, and uncontaminated by chaos. This is when the warrior sharpens his blade. This is when you build before the world can interrupt. Wake up with the sun, and you will start to see life from a higher altitude. Ryanholiday, one of the most prolific modern Stoic writers, lives far from the noise in a quiet ranch in Texas. No buzz, no chaos, just deep work, long walks, and full ownership of his hours. His success is not built on hustle, it's built on structure. His books were not written in inspiration, they were written in routine. And that's what you must adopt now. Not a grind, not a hustle, but a structure so solid that your best self has no choice but to emerge. Because time, when structured right, becomes momentum. And momentum, when protected, becomes identity. You are not reclaiming time as a productivity trick. You are doing it to remind yourself that your life is yours, that your hours are not for sale, that your attention is not a public utility. Every minute you reclaim is a vote for who you are becoming. But understand this, reclaiming time is not about becoming more efficient so you can fit in more noise. It's about creating empty space, strategic emptiness for deep work, deep thought, and even deeper recovery. Busyness is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. Silence is not laziness. It is strength. When you schedule solitude, you build clarity. When you reduce input, you amplify intention. When you protect space, you protect your sanity. Start blocking time not just for tasks, but for mastery. 1 hour to read deeply, not skim headlines. 1 hour to reflect, journal, or think, not scroll. Insert buffers between meetings. Say no more often, not because you're arrogant, but because you're aligned. Each yes you give to others is a no to your own becoming. Choose wisely. Reclaiming time also means changing how you relate to urgency. Not every ping deserves your presence. Not every message demands a reply. The Stoics believed in responding, not reacting. They practiced stillness, not passivity, but chosen restraint. So must you. You don't need to be reachable every moment. You need to be effective when it matters. Redesign your evening too. No blue light, no dopamine hits, no chaotic endings. Just a quiet descent into rest, because tomorrow begins the night before. Create a shutdown ritual. Review your day. Express gratitude. Reset intentions. Let the mind rest so the body can follow. You are not a machine. You are a system, and like every well-designed system, you must have rhythms, rituals, and recovery. You must plan your energy, not just your schedule. Time is the container. Who you become inside that container is your choice. Don't just plan your day. Protect it, design it, defend it, and for the first time, live it on your own terms. Reclaim your time, and you begin the process of reclaiming yourself. 2. Clean your mind. They say you are what you eat, but more dangerous, you are what you consume mentally. In a world where your attention is the most valuable commodity, the most dangerous threat is not ignorance, but manufactured thought. Studies estimate that over 80% of your thoughts each day are not conscious choices, but recycled loops, fragments implanted by algorithms, advertising, opinions, and the unending avalanche of external stimuli. You think you're thinking, but most of the time, you're just echoing. This is not just about distraction. This is about hijacking. Your mind has been infiltrated not with malice, but with noise. Scroll long enough, and you will begin to crave conflict. Watch enough curated lives, and you will despise your own. The world doesn't need to brainwash you, just needs to keep you stimulated. And in that overstimulation, your ability to think clearly, deeply, and originally begins to erode. You were not born with these thoughts. They were handed to you, crafted, optimized, delivered. You didn't choose most of the beliefs you hold. You inherited them from media, from peers, from culture, from wounded people repeating their own programming. What you call your personality might just be a playlist of other people's fears. That's not identity. That's infection. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor-philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Meditations, Book 6.8. This wasn't a motivational quote. It was a survival principle, because if you don't own your mind, someone else will. That's why this chapter doesn't begin with action. It begins with subtraction. You don't need more strategies. You need less noise, less input, less contamination. For the next 24 hours, commit to a full mental detox. No social media, no news, no podcasts, no music with words, no opinion-based content, just silence, nature, books, and your own unfiltered mind. It will be uncomfortable. You'll reach for your phone without thinking. You'll feel like you're missing out. But what you're actually doing is regaining sovereignty. You're reintroducing yourself to the terrain of your own mind, the terrain you've been too busy to visit. And once you step back into that silence, you'll start to hear a different voice. Not the loudest, but the truest. This is not about becoming a monk. This is about becoming clear. Naval Ravikant, modern-day entrepreneur and philosopher, put it bluntly, clear thinking requires courage more than intelligence. It means quieting the voice of the world long enough to hear your own. That clarity is your compass. And right now, it's buried under 10 layers of noise. Here's what you'll find as the noise fades. Most of your emotional triggers weren't yours to begin with. That anxiety, a reaction you picked up from watching others spiral. That anger, adopted from strangers arguing in comment sections. That fear of being behind, injected by endless highlight reels and hustle culture propaganda. You're not just distracted, you're downloading dysfunction. To clean your mind, you must first create distance between stimulus and response. This is where the shined. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That gap between event and reaction is your power. But today, that gap is gone. Notifications trigger emotions before you have time to breathe. You're not choosing your responses, you're being dragged by them. So take that space back. When something irritates you today, pause, breathe, write down what happened, and then write down what your automatic response was. Then ask, was that mine, or was it programmed? This is not journaling for productivity. This is forensic psychology for your soul. You'll start to realize something radical. Most of your mental pain doesn't come from life, but from the stories you attach to it. A missed message becomes rejection. A lack of likes becomes unworthiness. A small delay becomes proof that you're falling behind. But none of that is reality. It's interpretation. And when you clean your mind, you start to see the difference. Cleaning your mind is not a one-time detox. It's a daily discipline. It's saying no to noise so you can say yes to depth. It's remembering that your worth is not measured by your reaction time to the internet. It's choosing deliberate thought over impulsive consumption. It's realizing that every tweet, every reel, every hot take is either feeding your clarity or stealing it. There's no point mastering your schedule if your thoughts remain chaotic. There's no value in waking up early if your inner world is still dictated by everything external. Time means nothing without attention, and attention means nothing without awareness. So today, you clean your mind not as a productivity hack, but as a return to sovereignty. You choose solitude over stimulation. You question the origin of your thoughts. You rebuild the gap between stimulus and response, and you begin the real work not of thinking more, but of thinking for yourself, because the mind is not a container, it's a filter, and right now, it's time to clean the filter. 3. Strengthen the body. David Goggins couldn't run a mile without collapsing. Now, he runs 100-mile ultramarathons with a body forged from discipline and a mind sculpted by pain. But this isn't a story about physical triumphs, a case study in the deeper truth. When you train the body, you train the mind. And when the body is soft, the mind usually is too. We've spent the last 2 chapters reclaiming time and clearing the mind, but without anchoring those efforts in the body, they become abstract. The body is your battlefield, your testing ground, your temple. It is where philosophy meets blood, breath, and bone. It's where ideas stop being ideas and start becoming identity. Seneca once wrote, "We must undergo a hard winter training and not rush into things for which we haven't prepared." Moral Letters to Lucilius. Letter 82. His commitment to voluntary discomfort wasn't masochism, it was mastery, because he knew what the modern world forgets. You cannot be mentally resilient if you're physically fragile. Strength is built in the furnace of chosen hardship. Discipline begins in motion. You don't need a gym membership or a perfect routine. You need 60 minutes today to push your body. Run, walk uphill, do push-ups, carry something heavy. Train not for aesthetics, but for power. Every time your muscles scream, your mind learns that you are not a slave to comfort, that you can override the voice that says, "Stop." That suffering on your own terms is the blueprint for freedom. Do this consistently, and something strange happens. Clarity follows effort. Focus sharpens. Confidence rises. The mental fog starts to burn away with every drop of sweat, because action grounds awareness, and suffering chosen, structured, and endured creates internal silence that meditation often promises but rarely delivers. Take cold showers, not to impress anyone, but to practice command, to remind your nervous system that you are not a leaf in the wind, you are the storm. Eliminate sugar not forever, but for now, because your body deserves energy that serves your mission. Eat like a warrior preparing for battle, not a prisoner numbing himself with dopamine. Modern culture sells comfort as reward, but comfort is currency for the weak. It is not comfort that creates greatness, it's confrontation. And that confrontation must happen daily, in sweat, in fatigue, in repetition. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your training. Goggins calls it callousing the mind. Every run he hated, every rep he suffered through, every mile he bled. It wasn't for a medal. It was to kill the version of himself that once gave up. The fat kid, the insecure man, the quitter. He wasn't training for a race, he was training for war against himself. And so must you. Because no matter how refined your mind is, it will collapse under pressure if your body hasn't practiced resistance. This is why Stoicism is not theory, it is embodiment. The ancient Stoics trained like soldiers, fasted like monks, and walked in the cold, not to feel pain, but to feel control. Voluntary hardship wasn't an exercise in toughness, it was a rehearsal for life. Today, your rehearsal begins. Set a 60-minute block. Move with purpose. Sweat with meaning. Let fatigue humble you, and let repetition rewire you. Afterward, journal not about how far you went, but about how your mind changed when your body struggled. That's where your real transformation is hiding. Reclaiming your body is not about aesthetics, it's about alignment. When your actions match your values, when your movement reflects your mindset, when your rituals reinforce your identity, you become unstoppable. Not because you're faster, but because you're integrated. You don't need more confidence, you need more proof. And the best evidence that you can rely on yourself isn't in your words, it's in your sweat. No one can argue with the man who trains while others make excuses. No one can break the man who willingly breaks himself and builds back stronger. So if you've been waiting for the perfect time to train, this is it. If you've been searching for the motivation to change's top, motivation is a child of action. Start first. Feel later. Commit now. Complain never. You've reclaimed your time. You've cleared your mind. Now, strengthen the vessel that will carry both. The body is not separate from the mind, it is the gatekeeper to the soul. And today, you begin the work of fortifying it. Fourth, control your speech. Every time you say, "I'm not sure," you are not just expressing doubt, you are rehearsing weakness. Language is not just communication, it's construction. Every word you speak lays another brick in the house of who you are becoming. And if your vocabulary is built on hesitation, apology, and fear, don't be surprised when your life starts to reflect the same architecture. We've reclaimed your time, reset your mind, and strengthened your body. But now we must refine the code that runs everything, your language. Because your words don't just describe your reality, they program it. Speech is not a neutral act, it is power, disguised in syllables. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus once warned, "Better to remain silent than to speak foolishly." Discourses, Book 1. Not as a romantic ideal, but as a survival principle. Because the person who cannot control his tongue cannot control his life. Most people speak to fill space. They talk out of nervousness, out of habit, out of the need to be heard of, and if what they say has no weight. But silence, when wielded with confidence, is louder than noise. Precision in speech is a sign of precision in thought. And the man who speaks less but clearer, firmer, more deliberately imposes more influence than the one who speaks constantly. Start with the words you use toward yourself. Self-talk isn't harmless background noise, it's source code. Replace "I'll try" with "I will." Erase "I don't know" and say "I'll find out." Don't say "maybe I can." Say "I am working on it." Speak to yourself as if your future depends on your tone, because it does. Then, shift your external speech. Stop using fillers. Eliminate weak prefaces. "This might sound dumb, but," or "I'm no expert, but." These statements sabotage you before you even begin. You are not small. Stop making yourself sound that way. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant. It means becoming aligned. Let your words match your strength. Let your voice be a reflection of your values, not a reaction to fear. Watch Jocko Willink speak. A former Navy SEAL commander turned leadership strategist, he talks like a man at war with weakness. Short, calm, exact. There are no wasted syllables, no fluff. Every sentence is a mission, every word a weapon. When he says, "Discipline equals freedom," it's not a catchphrase, it's a philosophy encoded into language. You must begin to speak that way, with intentionality, with clarity, with force. Even when you're uncertain, speak with forward motion. Not, "I'm lost," but "I'm searching." Not "I failed," but "I'm learning." Language, like posture, either signals collapse or control. This also includes how you speak to others. Don't over-explain, don't over-justify, don't apologize for taking up space. State your position. Listen. Speak again only when necessary. The less you speak, the more people will listen when you do. This is not manipulation, it's gravitas. Refining your speech doesn't mean becoming robotic. It means becoming deliberate. Most people talk reactively. Few speak strategically. You must choose your words, as a craftsman chooses his tools with care, with patience, with intent. And when silence is the most powerful choice, choose silence. Let others rush to fill the air. You hold still. The man who can tolerate silence without anxiety is the one who controls the room. Today, your challenge is twofold. First, conduct a language audit. Spend 1 hour listening to how you speak to yourself and others. Write down the phrases that carry fear, softness, avoidance. Then, write the assertive version. Replace weakness with clarity. Second, implement a discipline of speech. Speak less, pause more. Replace volume with velocity. When you do speak, land your words with precision. Don't talk to impress. Speak to align. Use language as a tool of leadership, not validation. From now on, every sentence you speak is either reinforcing your mission or eroding it. There is no neutral ground. Control your speech, and you begin to control how others see you. More importantly, you control how you see yourself, because your words are not just your voice, they are your command. And today, that command becomes absolute. 5. Execute without excuse. You don't procrastinate because you're lazy. You procrastinate because, deep down, you don't fully believe you're the kind of person who finishes. That's the brutal truth. Most delays are not about fatigue or distractions. They're about fractured identity. You delay action because your inner world has not accepted your authority. And every time you wait, hesitate, or stall, you're casting a vote against your future self. Procrastination is not a time issue, it's a trust issue. When you consistently avoid what matters, you're not just wasting time, you're betraying your potential. Every postponed decision sends a subtle message to your subconscious: you are not ready. But readiness is not a gift, it's a consequence of execution. This chapter is not about optimizing your to-do list, it's about flipping a switch, from theory to action, from passivity to force, from reaction to responsibility. Epictetus, the Stoic teacher, who once walked as a slave and later mentored emperors, said it with precision: don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Discourses, Book 1.4. You say you believe in growth. Show me your daily schedule. You claim to value discipline. Then why is the gym still optional? Words don't build legacy, action do. This is where the line is drawn. Between thinkers and doers, between spectators and warriors. And you decide right now which side you're on. Pick one thing you've been avoiding for over 30 days. One phone call, one application, one hard conversation, one life-altering project that terrifies and tempts you at the same time. Now do it. No build-up, no ceremony, no internal debate. Action kills doubt. Action trains identity. Action ends hesitation before hesitation becomes who you are. Watch Amelia Boone, one of the most decorated obstacle course racers in the world. She held 2 demanding jobs: corporate attorney by day, athlete by dawn and dusk. 4 hours of training daily, no excuses, no outsourcing discomfort. Her victories weren't handed to her. They were executed, 1 mile, 1 rep, 1 day at a time. Boone didn't wait for perfect circumstances. She built her discipline under pressure, with deadlines, fatigue, and injury screaming in the background. That's what real execution looks like, not aesthetic, not convenient, but relentless. It doesn't care how you feel. It only cares that you move. You might say, I'm waiting for the right moment. But that moment doesn't exist. The battlefield of achievement is messy, imperfect, and now. Execution doesn't require the absence of fear, it requires movement in the presence of it. Still stuck? Use the 5-minute rule. Whatever the task, commit to doing it for just 5 minutes. Most resistance dies after momentum is born. Or use what Navy SEALs call the 40% rule. When your mind tells you you're done, you're only 40% done. The rest is locked behind discipline. You're not here to analyze, you're here to advance. This chapter is about momentum, not mastery. You become excellent by waiting. You become excellent by doing something so consistently that you have no choice but to evolve. Execution doesn't demand perfection. It demands decisiveness. The Stoics didn't ask whether today was convenient. They asked whether today was worthy. If it wasn't, they made it worthy. So here's the invitation. Burn the list. Pick the thing. Do it. Now. Then come back here and tell the world in the comments what you just executed. Why? Because when you declare action publicly, you raise the stakes. You build pressure. And pressure creates accountability. Execution is spiritual. It's not just physical movement, it's a declaration that your life is under your own command, that you're done with delay, that you're done with drifting, that you refuse to die with unattempted greatness. Your time is already reclaimed, your mind already cleared, your body already forged, your voice already refined. Now it's time to prove all of it with action. 6. Design your system. You don't live on inspiration, you live on systems. And if your days are ruled by how you feel rather than what you've built, you're not living, you're improvising. You can't master your future on vibes. You master it through structure. Most people don't fail because they lack ambition. They fail because their ambition is unsupported by architecture. Discipline alone is fragile. On the hard days, it cracks. But a system carries you when your willpower can't. It's not about pushing harder, it's about designing smarter. Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." Letters to Lucilius, letter 58. And preparation is not a one-time act, it's a systemized way of life. If you want to be ready when life opens a door, you better have already trained your habits to walk through it. Let's stop fantasizing about change and start engineering it. Today, your challenge is to build the infrastructure of your new identity. That starts with your 3 pillar habits, not 10, not 20. Just 3 non-negotiables that form the spine of your day. Own for your mind, 1 for your body, 1 for your mission. Example: read 20 minutes, train 45 minutes. Execute 1 deep work block. That's it. Now lock them into your schedule at the same time every day. Ritual creates rhythm. Rhythm creates identity. Identity creates outcomes. But we don't stop at habits. Habits need tracking, because what you don't measure, you can't manage. Create a simple visual tracker. It could be a spreadsheet, a wall calendar, a journal. The medium doesn't matter, the consistency does. Tracking turns, "I think I'm doing well," into, "I know I'm progressing." Next, systematize your day. Not hour by hour like a robot, but in blocks of intention. Morning represents input, which includes reading, exercise, and reflection. Midday signifies output, involving creation, execution, and problem solving. Evening stands for recovery, such as journaling, planning, and disconnection. Your brain thrives in themes. Give it a tempo to dance to. Look at James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. He didn't just write about behavior change, he lives it. His success wasn't born in a moment of motivation, it was forged in systems. He used tiny, repeatable actions to build a global platform. He didn't rely on will, he relied on design. Want to be more creative? Systemize your inspiration. Schedule when you explore new ideas. Want better energy? Systemize your recovery, same bedtime, No caffeine after 2 p.m., no screens past 9. Want stronger relationships? Systemize connections. End. One genuine message a day. Systems don't make you rigid, they make you reliable. Now here's where it gets powerful. Once your system is in place, you no longer need to ask, "What should I do today?" The system answers for you. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop wasting time on indecision. You wake up, plug in, and build. And in doing so, you make excellence inevitable. Systems aren't sexy. They don't give dopamine hits. They don't scream on social media. But they quietly separate amateurs from professionals, tourists from masters, dreamers from doers. You don't need a better mood. You need a better framework. So here's your assignment. Write down your 3 pillar habits. Build a tracking method. Then, design a simple daily rhythm based on input, output, recovery. And if you want a head start, download the free 7-day system template in the video description. No excuses, just execution. You've already reclaimed your time. You've cleared your mind. You've forged your body. You've refined your voice. You've broken procrastination. Now it's time to replace willpower with systems, because discipline fails in chaos, but it thrives in design. 7. Live your code. Who are you when no one is watching? That question haunts or empowers you, depending on how well you've lived your truth. Identity is not a performance. It's not crafted through status or aesthetics. It's carved quietly, consistently through daily decisions, especially the ones no one sees. You don't become your best self by talking about values. You become it by living them when no one else is around to applaud. Philosophy, without embodiment, is just performance art. But when it is lived, it becomes character. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king who ruled an empire in chaos, wrote in Meditations, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." He didn't write that for the world. He wrote it to himself, in battle tents, in lonely moments, as a reminder that greatness isn't loud, it's consistent. You've designed your system. You've reclaimed your actions. But now comes the part no one else can do for you, choosing, moment by moment, to live your code. Not once, not when it's easy, but repeatedly, especially when it's hard. Because your real identity isn't the one you declare, it's the one you default to under pressure. Here's the paradox. You don't discover who you are by looking inward. You discover it by acting outward, in alignment with your core, until your soul recognizes itself in motion. You shape your character through micro-decisions, showing up on time, keeping promises, saying no to what corrupts you even when no one would know. That's the power of a personal code. It turns your life into a compass. When the world gets loud, you move by principle. When your emotions flare, you act by values. When temptation whispers, your code roars louder. Today's practice is this. Write your declaration. 1 paragraph, 1 page. Doesn't matter. But put it on paper. Your values, your principles, your non-negotiables. Then say it aloud. Not to the world, to yourself. Because when your voice hears your code, your choices begin to follow. Then begin a new journal. Not to perform, but to remember, a Stoic journal. Each morning ask, what kind of man do I want to be today? Each night, where did I live that truth, and where did I betray it? That ritual done quietly, consistently is how you fortify your soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations not for fame, not for followers, but as a mirror to reflect who he wanted to be amidst chaos. Emperor by title, student by spirit. And that's the paradoxical beauty of real strength. It comes from inner humility. from checking yourself when no one else will. We spend so much energy curating our image to the world, yet neglect the one audience that always watches ourselves. Your life doesn't change when others believe in you. It changes when you do. When your actions make it impossible to deny who you are becoming. If you've ever felt lost, this is the moment to anchor. Not to a label, not to motivation, but to code. A simple, clear code that fits in your chest and guides your hands. From this day forward, you are no longer building a new self. You are revealing the self that's been buried beneath distraction and delay. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being precise, not flawless but firm, not fearless, but faithful to what matters most. You will still fall short, but now you'll have a standard to rise back to. So who are you really? Not what your resume says, not what your feed shows, but what you do when nobody's checking. That's where character lives. That's where legacy begins. Write your code, read it daily, then live it so deeply that when your name is forgotten, your example remains. 8. The integration. 7 days ago, you made a decision to begin, to reclaim, to reset. Not everything has changed, but something has. And now, as the noise of transformation begins to settle, it's time to ask the most important question: what will remain? Change isn't complete when the action ends. It's complete when the action becomes identity. This chapter isn't about more movement. It's about absorption, digestion, integration. Because a week of fire means nothing if you return to the ashes. Look back, day by day. What did you resist? What did you overcome? What surprised you about yourself? Maybe it was easier than you thought to wake up early. Maybe it was harder than expected to control your words. Maybe writing your code cracked something open in you. There's no right answer, only honest ones. So pause now, reflect. In your journal, ask yourself, what changed the most in me? What was the hardest truth I had to face? What practice will I carry forward no matter what? This is your reckoning. Without it, you risk becoming just another person who had a powerful week and then slipped quietly back into old patterns. That's the real threat, not failure, but forgetting. The Stoics warned about this. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That foolishness comes not from starting, but from starting over and over again, never anchoring, never integrating. You are not who you were last week, but if you don't cement that truth, momentum will fade. The world won't remind you, comfort won't protect you, and time won't wait for you. So here's what comes next. You write your own 30-day journey, not a challenge, a ritual. Not intensity, consistency. Take the elements that struck you, deepest your pillar habits, your code, your discipline, and scale them. Not wider, deeper. One action, 1 hour, every day, for 30 days. Then share your path, not as performance, but as permission for someone else to begin. Maybe a friend, a sibling, a stranger online. Teach one principle you've embodied, because when you speak as a mentor, your lessons deepen, and when you help another rise, your strength becomes legacy. You don't need a certificate, you need a story, and you have one now. The final step is this. Comment below. One sentence, one shift, one truth you'll never let go of. Make it public, not for likes, but for accountability. Let the world witness your shift, not in theory, but in presence. Maybe you thought this journey was about becoming unrecognizable, but now you know it's about becoming undeniable. A person of clarity, of code, of presence. You are not finished, you are just calibrated. And the path ahead is no longer a mystery, it's a mission. So take one breath, one word, one step forward, and begin again this time as the person you've proven yourself to be. You are not the person you were a week ago. You've moved differently, thought more clearly, lived more deliberately. And now, as the dust settles, you stand in front of the mirror not as someone slightly improved, but as someone reborn. You've faced resistance, you've chosen discomfort, you've stripped away distractions, and in their place you've installed presence, discipline, and unshakable clarity. This isn't a reset. This is a resurrection. Stoic philosophy is not a relic. It's a weapon. It's a mirror. It's the code that lives behind every action you now take. Marcus Aurelius didn't write for the crowd. He wrote for himself. And so have you. 7 days of action, 7 layers of transformation, etched not in your words, but in your choices. Now, we pass the torch to you. Share what you've lived. Comment below and answer this. What is the one truth you will carry from this week into the rest of your life? When you speak it, you seal it. And if this journey moved you, share it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Send it to the person who needs this fire. Because Stoicism isn't meant to sit in silence. It's meant to be embodied and passed forward. No one may recognize you now, but you recognize yourself. And that is the only recognition that ever mattered. As Seneca once wrote, "While we wait for life, life passes. So will you act now, or will you watch yourself fade back into the old? Choose, and begin again."